Friends, welcome to this interesting conversation to accelerate the experience by redefining the conversations. So, let me introduce you to my panel. First, we have Mr. Sumanta Kumar Panda, who is a General Manager from State Bank of India. Mr. Panda, can you please give a very quick half a minute introduction of yourself, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Sumant Panda. I am GM Data and Analytics in the State Bank of India. I have been a banker throughout my career. I have done the branch banking. I have been after coming to IT 5 years back. I'm handling a lot of departments here, and currently I am in charge of banks data and also both reporting and the data warehouse. So the analytics is one of the major area of my work area, and I'm glad that we will discuss the interesting topic today.
Wonderful. Thank you and welcome, Mr. Panda.
Sure. Hi everyone. I am Abhinav, heading digital banking for NSDL Payments Bank for about 3 years now. My prior experiences have been with Vodafone, Axis Bank, and ICICI Bank.
Welcome, Abhinav.
Hi to everybody. This is Jitendra Agarwal. Last 30 years, I have been in the field of process excellence and trying to bring innovation using process reimagining. Particularly last 10 years with HDFC Life as an executive vice president, and recently I have taken up a larger role in terms of advisory for digital transformation at different workplaces.
Wonderful.
Hi everyone, and welcome to my fellow panelists and everyone who's logged in. My name is Srini. You can refer to me as Srini. I run marketing for Gupshup, and Gupshup is a conversational messaging company. And what we do is we work with companies and BFSI and other verticals to bring them closer with their customers and get them to engage better with their customers through messaging apps and chatbots, or in short, through conversations.
Interesting. So welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to this wonderful conversation. We have all been working very strongly towards creating a mobile world, a digital experience world, etc. Okay. So what we are trying to do here is that we have multiple of apps which we are working here, and each of these apps, people like us, when we are forced to download so many apps in our mobile phone, we have a dearth of space on one side. On the other side, we are not very confident of most of the apps. And there has been a lot of issues, especially in this app world. So, especially in all this integrated app world, there are a lot of organizations now trying to bring in super apps into picture and trying to redefine this. Ultimately, all that we are going to talk is how can we make it seamless. So have each one of you also been experiencing the glut of the app world, and what are the typical kind of solutions that you have been seeing in this entire scenario?
I think I just wanted to start with on a lighter note. You rightly said so that there are multiple apps, but what is the right app or what is the apt thing which is required for conversation, that is really missing. And in that context, I think having a conversation with a organization which is having a solution which is the Gupshup, as the term stands for, it is actually a literal meaning of a conversation. So in that sense, it is very contextual, most appropriate kind of a thing to get into. So when we started any digital journey, app was the starting point for reaching out to the customers. Now one need to really understand the dynamics from the customer's perspective. Is the product or the offering which you are making, is it a pull or is it push? Now if there is a pull for that, obviously the download for those kind of an app and whatever are the suggested recommendations from the organization, a customer will do that and they will start following the journey because their lifeline is dependent upon it. But if it is a push kind of a scenario, you will find that a lot of effort is required in terms of customer reach, customer connect, educating customers to really make those apps to be downloaded and then becomes a utilitarian for their purpose, for which the entire set of ecosystems have been created. So this is the biggest problem in terms of getting the mind share of the customer to really download a particular app, which possibly will be loaded with a lot of features and a lot of promises. So one need to really look into, one is this route where you put a lot of effort of educating, marketing customers, which possibly may not go, because there are in the world of customer, there are many more apps which are available, which is a natural pull for him, and he will be downloading it and making it the front page of that customer. So one need to really look into what is the customer's most comfortable with and is getting accustomed to. So maybe a WhatsApp become an option for a customer to really get into, where customer is spending most of his time in terms of a conversation, either on a friends and relative level, or if a conversation is to be really strike to, with that customer on a business context, then possibly knock on WhatsApp or a similar kind of a social media connects would be the relevant thing. And that switch will make the whole possibility of offering those solution or the need fulfillment of the customers through that kind of a mode. So the mode selection is an important aspect when we actually talk about creating a conversational journey or reaching out a solution for a customers.
I think everyone agrees that you need to have a solution which makes things seamless, which makes it much more experiential as well. Panda Sahab, you have been having a super app called as YONO, which is working in your organization, and it is probably one of the most important super app that has been built by any PSU organization, especially in this country today.
I would like to highlight the current context, and if it is a customer is the center of everything. So taking the customer as the centricity approach, then for him, for the customer, we would understand that there are a number of options for the customers. Say think of the banks. The banks, they have within the banks there are multiple, whether public sector, private sector, these small finance banks or payment banks. Then you have the fintechs. Everybody offering one or more similar kind of offers to the customer. So customer has a multiple choice. Now, if customer selects any of these or more than one or more than two, then probably he has to download that bank's digital applications, whether it is internet banking or mobile banking or any other app which this organization might be offering. So the question is, from the customer point of view, it is multiple apps. You cannot probably reduce. But there are certain attempts to reduce the number of the apps by one kind of, you can say, super app. Say, you think of, say, Google Pay. Google Pay is one app which probably gives so many banks integrated already there, and they are offering so many functionality. So the customer can be part of one app and then forget about the banks. This is one area. But within the bank, suppose the bank themselves have their own the functionality to offer to the customer. So there are then within the bank also multiple apps that we have faced 5-6 years back. Bank has started its digital journey quite long with the internet banking coming up in 2009 or 2007. So after that, mobile banking also started. So multiple apps started. So there was a competition among within the verticals of the bank that let us offer this app and that app. So that that's the customer who has really willed to know that there are so many apps for within the bank. So similar the case for the other banks also. So then the thinking of this super app came into the thinking. The YONO comes to there. But we can offer the banking, the financial superstore, and the lifestyle. So this financial superstore is a very big thing, which I would like to highlight here. All our JVs are connected through that. So anybody wants any other life insurance or general insurance or DMart or mutual fund or card, everything is available. So that's a real super app which provides not only the banking but also the superstore, and in addition to that, the lifestyle. So that is you can select your car and you can select your dress within the Yono app, and you can make the payment there. So that's kind of a facility customer has really accepted it, and as on date, we are touching say 50 million customers who are liking this Yono app, and hopefully it will go from strength to strength. Yeah.
Wonderful, sir. May I welcome Krishnan Seshan also. Krishnan is from RBL, heading digital. And hi, Krishnan. Glad to see you and have you in this interesting session with us on the area of accelerating experience.
Hi, everybody, and I'm Krishna Seshan. I'm part of the digital payments and acquiring business of RBL Bank, and we primarily support a host of products on the digital side. I manage the product and implementation here. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, and welcome, Krishna. So, Srini, you have been seeing a lot of, you have learned from the bankers during this course of conversation about the multiplicity of the apps and things like that. You have been trying to create an integration to how these conversations can be integrated, how the apps can be integrated, things like that. So what has been your experience on how organizations can engage seamlessly, especially in this age of apps?
That's a great question. And what we are actually seeing working with several of India's leading banks and also large companies and other verticals is that what we call it as the third era in digital transformation. So we had the web era. And a lot of these shifts are being driven by changes in consumer adoption of technology. So we had the whole web era. So banks moved from, they created a lot of net banking, internet banking capabilities. Then you had the mobile and the app era, and m-banking has become a big thing today. All of us use it. So what we've also seen in the last 10 years is the adoption of the messaging app. So a lot of consumers have first adopted it. So today, let's say something like WhatsApp has got about 2 billion people using it, and India is one of their largest geographies. And similarly, there are other messaging apps. So now what is happening is that while the website and the mobile app continues to function and serve its purpose, there is also a need for the whole financial services ecosystem to engage with consumers on messaging apps, because there is a expectation of seamlessness and ease that consumers expect, not just from banks, but from multiple other industries. So that is a big shift that we are seeing. So it also depends on the type of company. Like for a large bank that has tens of millions of users on the app itself, they are also trying to make the app experience more conversational. Because if you think about it, the language of websites and the language of apps, it scrolls and clicks, which is not a very natural thing for us human beings. So we have taught ourselves the digital language. But what is most natural to us is the ability to converse, because we've been used to that in a physical world. Like we talk to the teller, we talk to an officer in the branch, or we talk to our wealth manager, for example. So creating those conversational journeys within whether within a website or whether within a mobile app or directly within a messaging app, let's say on an official WhatsApp account, for example. So these are some of the shifts that we are seeing companies in the BFSI sector undertake.
Excellent. Krishna, you have been into the payment space, digital payment space, and that is another important space where there is a lot of conversation happening. Hey, my payment is not going through. Hey, I have not received a reconciliation of my payment, or whatever it is. So how has your experience been, especially in this digital world, when it comes to conversations using these apps and things like that? You are again working on multiplicity of apps with API integration and all happening.
So I think very valid point, Babu, and I have a very different view here because as far as the conversations go, they are very relevant to different kind of segments. The app app form of communication, channel of communication is more relevant to a retail customer. And there, honestly, I think banks are far behind than fintechs. It's better to accept where we stand as of now, because the kind of flexibility and the kind of information that fintechs offer. For example, let's say, I'm not sure if how many of you are a customer of Cred, okay, but the UI and the ability to find information on payments is phenomenally good. Okay, and the thing is, it has a variety of things, because as a bank is marginalized to show a certain set of information on the app. So definitely, yeah, you have chatbot, you have all of those things to address the retail queries. But if you see a retail e-com app or a payment service provider app, they have an ability to show information of payments. Their ability to show, they can show you products that you are interested in. So the whole gamut becomes different, and you will have more engagement of the customer to a payment service provider app rather than a banking app. So eventually, a lot of this customer USP, the customer accessibility is moving to such applications rather than they coming to the banking app. So even if you see traditionally, our internet banking, so a year, 2 years, 3 years back, we all used to go to internet banking to see our bank balance, to do transactions. But I think over the last 1-2 years, we wouldn't have visited internet banking, because mobile does everything for us. So that's where the shift is happening. The shift is happening only in retail. So I would like to just stress upon before I conclude that on the corporate side and on the non-individual side, especially when it comes to partners, intermediaries, corporates, there isn't a full-scale platform that is still available, or neither any bank has been able to put through. So that there is a bundled ability to express or give communication information through apps, through physical service call center agents, relationship managers. So it's still not a retail platform kind of evolution that has happened.
Interesting. So how are we trying to embed that physical appeal of that conversation into the digital appeal, especially when it comes to a bank or a financial service organization? So Abhinav, you have been again a digital native bank for that matter. You are born digital. So how have you faced this challenge, or what did you prepare to make it happen?
Sure. Everything comes out of a conversation. If I need something, I will speak about it to someone. That person will maybe have some queries around it. I will answer those queries, and then that service or product will be delivered to me. Now it was happening physically. Then the apps came. I mean, mobile phone came with so many tools around it, and the organizations found out that there is a way that the customer can talk to the organization without even physically talking to a person. So that is what basically an app is. You basically talk to the organization that I want this, I want that, or maybe I want to do this transaction, I want to inquire about this service, etc. So that is the first step, I would say, where at least the BFSI has only reached, wherein you have an app, all the services are available on the app, and if you click the relevant buttons, whatever you desired will be fulfilled. And obviously, with time, we are building on the services. We are bringing in more and more services. Now, what I see as next step on this one is that currently what we offer, at least from the banking apps perspective, and I'm talking about almost all banks put together, because like the co-panelists mentioned, that maybe the fintechs are far ahead, but if you talk about banking apps, they are still lagging in terms of experience. So those options are there, but these are all same for everyone. I mean, if I log in the app, I may have some different priorities. I may have a different style of banking. I may have a different need with a bank. However, I will largely see the same interface. I will have to click on the same buttons to basically reach to a service or to a page. However, it's not actually the real life case. If all of us go to a shop to buy a shirt, obviously we'll buy some different colors, designs, etc. So if that's the case, now that step 2 is basically we need to customize our conversation with the customer the way customer wants it to be, the way his priorities are, the way he talks. So if we go to the lift, the way we talk to the lift man is different from the way we talk to our boss, the way we talk to our family. So we customize the way we communicate to different individuals. Therefore, there is a need that organizations customize their communication when they are talking to different customers. It can be based on, so how, let's say, a blue collar person would expect an app to behave could be totally different from how a niche customer would expect the app to behave. And therefore it's a high I would say it's a high priority thing for all the banks, and obviously it expands beyond banks, to basically understand what exactly customers want, which customer requires what is their priority, and accordingly build the applications.
Fantastic. Jitendra, you have been from both banking plus insurance sector in your career. So what is your perspective there?
So when we talk about customer experience, there is a phrase which is used called touch point. And the biggest touch point is a physical touch point, which is our branch setup, which is having a set of people who are tasked to do a particular set of transactions. May also have an assistance for distributor or partner, depending upon bank or an insurance company. Now, the physical was managed with the best of the empathy of the person, but that person was dependent upon the backend for the entire fulfillment, and that's where the core systems comes in the picture. But large part of the transactions which are getting picked up are having a timestamp, and then there is a processing which is taking place either at the end of the day or maybe 2 days, 3 days kind of a tat. Now that era is changed, and that's where the backend preparation which has gone in terms of making the whole organization across touch points to provide that same experience with the digital means. And that's where the origination of call centers came in. Email as a conversation mechanism started happening. SMS becomes a mode, and wherever customers are. So if a customer is actually preferring to maybe having a speak with the organization through Siri, possibly our organization need to think about it. If a customer is at a Facebook or maybe at a Twitter, they want to really create a query that should be really enabled through those touch points. So that's where the scope of digitization has taken place. While that has taken place, the whole front end need to be really enabled with that back end readiness which has taken place. So the biggest change which is to be really brought in and being enabling for an instant experience for the customers was that at a front end, all the backend technologies have been brought in, and that has been enabled. So be it a salesperson, be it a service person, is really helping customers in that moment with those technologies. So that's the real kind of a transition which has taken place in the bank or maybe in the financial services setup.
Great insight, Jitendra.
So Babu, I'd like to add something to that. I think what we are also seeing is with the amount of data that is available today and how banks and fintechs are using data to create, and also using conversational AI on top of that, to create something like a personal relationship manager for every single customer of yours in the millions. It doesn't matter whether they're a very large account or a small savings account. These customized and personalized conversations can be enabled today. But of course, Jitendra is right that it does require a good data infrastructure. It requires layers on top of that, which is the ML layer and the AI layer. And ultimately, that needs to translate into the customer touchpoint, which is either through a messaging app or through an app or even on the website. But it is possible today, and I think a lot of companies in BFS are actually attempting it and making it a reality.
Interesting. Any new insights, Panda Sahab, especially with the elephant-sized bank, which is the huge bank, one of the largest bank in the country? Taming an elephant is much more difficult than taming a new age bank, which is born digital. Like Abhinav is very happy to have a small bank which is born digital. So in your kind of conversation, how do you bring this mix and match together?
conversation touch points there are multiple touch points for a bank. It's not essential that the branch banking, which has been predominant before, it has been expanded. So whether the touch points be a contact center or through website or through mobile bank. As currently the current generation is familiar with the SMS and then digital chatting, say WhatsApp. Those types of conversation banks are trying to build. The only way that currently, as far as what are the chatbots, that has become really popular. The customers are really using this extensively, the chatbots. But the chatbots, as of now, I guess it's very rudimental in mostly on FAQ based. The whatever AI is inbuilt, that NLP is inbuilt, that is very rudimentary and not very extensive high-end NLP. So those are the areas where now State Bank is trying to enter and to give perhaps this conversational AI which Srini was mentioning. That's perhaps the ultimate thing which the customer can ask anything in a banking app or in a chatbot, and that get the service, and the chatbot should understand that. The similar thing at the contact center. The contact center, what we find that the customers, the call when it is going on, this is the moment of truth for that the contact center agent and the customer. In that moment of truth, what is going on? Whether the sentiments of the customer is really picked and the responses are accordingly given, and what are the tonalities there with this customer. So these things are really a challenge. When we want to develop into that, it's really a challenge in country like ours. You can see every district you have a different accent, and the language changes, accent changes. So systematically capturing those things and to converting it to text, this requires a high end of machine learning capacity, which we are trying to venture into. I hope many banks and fintechs are also trying to get into that. And when that is accomplished, I think we're probably in a better position at that time.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think you brought some fantastic points. The analytics on languages, the aspect of different tones and different emotions capturing of this conversation. And the third side is the different kind of dialects of the same typical language that is also being used in different types of places. And the capabilities of the bots and the applications to respond to it in the required manner. Okay, how much of machine is that bot and how much of human is the bot? A very interesting perspective, Sab, you have done. And coming to Krishna, you have been working with multiple channels also. You have ATM channel, you have got branch channel, you have got internet channel, you have got mobile channel. And channel integration has never been a new topic per se. I remember talking about it way back from 2008, 2009 onwards about channel integration. But channel conversation integration is something that we are anyways working towards. So how are we using that messaging across, integrating that unified messaging across the channels? Any thoughts on that?
So see, I'm trying to bring a very different dimension, because as far as a bank is concerned, every bank is now working towards providing various communication channels, be it chatbot, be it WhatsApp banking. Most of them are live on WhatsApp banking. You get statements on WhatsApp. So what I feel is that, the word is instant gratification. Okay. If you see, I'll just take an example. All of us may be shopping on Amazon, correct? Have you ever felt the need to speak to a customer service agent? We never, correct? Now, if the products, the financial services in India still are being deemed to be a product in themselves. That's how it's being offered. But actually, it is not. It's means to buy something. Because today, if you see, a lot of this are now being cannibalized by the different products which are already there is different. Let me put use cases available for customers. Now, today, if I want to transfer money to you, Babu, I may not go to my mobile banking and tell you, give me your account number, give me your IFSC number. I may just ask you a BPA address, and I may just do a UPI fee. Okay, my fund transfer gets taken care of by not coming to a mobile banking app. And similarly, if you see new use cases have come, if I want to pay rent, I don't need to go to, I may either go to NuBroker app, I may go to so many of the fintechs are providing payments to credit cards. So I can do a payment to landlord. I can do a non-landlord payment. There are a lot of sites like Paymetrics, Paymate, which allow you to do fund transfers. Now, what's happening? The shift is that payments are being seen as a mode to achieve a outcome which the customer wants. And when you create, so the thought process has to shift, because if we start thinking customers, then we need to think that what is the customer journey, and you need to potentially fit in the customer journey so that you are able to be relevant there. And if you make yourself relevant, then you will have everybody coming to your app, not using your app only for the specific purpose. Right? So while these are two sets. So definitely all banks will have to build their channels of communication, and they have their call center channel. We also have a big call center setup, and we always think about how to reduce manpower and make more and more query handling digital, so that you incrementally don't grow linearly to the number of customers that you add on. But at the same time, one dynamic shift which is happening in industry and the way fintechs are approaching this is very different. If I go to most of the successful apps, you will find a host of, for example, take the success of PhonePe. PhonePe, if you go to PhonePe's app, you have an array of services. You can do bill payment, you can do bank transfers, you can do, you've enabled so many things. Eventually, a customer who's hooked on to PhonePe may not feel the need to go to some other app. And obviously, then your ability is to do an amenization of the customer service. The need for approaching a customer service has to be so minimal, and maybe your business justifies the reversal that Amazon may be doing for the refund that you have. And obviously, deep pockets, that goes without saying. But this is one, dynamic shift which I see, which is increasingly happening in the market.
You simplify that entire story in such a way that the guy does not have to come back to you to ask questions. Everything he wants is there. Set the expectations right there at that same app level and amplify it. It will spread like wildfire on its own. You don't have to push it. It is more of a pull mechanism there. That's a fantastic point, Krishnan. I like that. And it involves, and while it may look at a very simplified version in the front end, the back end is the place where all that complicated wires are, which have to be integrated very systematically, beautifully in such a way that in the front it is a calm sea and all the undercurrents are below the ocean, which are working seamlessly to give that experience. Fantastic. So here we come across one of the most important thing. On one side is customization, on the other side is emotions, the third side is merging both these together. These are the psychological kind of things that we are talking. And from the technology aspect, we are talking about the front end channel. Then we are talking about the apps. Then we are talking about API for integrating this app. Then the next layer is AI for integrating the apps as well as the channels and putting together a seamless machinery which can give that emotional, customized impact. Just my question to you, Srini, since you have been working in the area of communications for so long, in the area of conversations for so long. How are these layers now coming together on to act seamlessly, especially in the financial sector, where you cannot take any risk because ultimately, the customer can run away from your bank in a jiffy if you do anything wrong. And the conversation, if it becomes very mechanized, people don't appreciate it. You can't do too much of this thing. So how do you actually work around this entire thing to give that simplified, emotional, personalized experience?
So I think one of the things that you cannot walk away from that is that the BFSI is it's a highly regulated industry, and there is a lot of sensitivity because you're dealing with financial transactions and data. So so typically what happens when you try and craft these experiences is that whatever experience that you try and craft, whether it is an app or a website or a messaging app or a chatbot, has to integrate with the core banking processes, which is the heart of every bank. And most other banks today have a solid core banking system like Finacle or the other alternatives. So it all starts from there, and then you have the different processes that are there in different departments, whether it is the savings department or loans. So you got to pick each and every user journey within that, and then try to reimagine how that journey actually plays out in a more modern, if I can use the word, a more digital way, not a modern way, but a more digital manner. But the core of making this a success is one word, is integration. So you have to, if someone like GupShup is building out a messaging platform, then we have to integrate with the APIs and the systems that the digital stack of the bank has built out, and they've built it out based on very stringent guidelines by the RBI. So the way we architect our systems, and we do that already. So we integrate with core banking systems. We comply with a lot of security protocols, data security protocols that the bank itself is audited on. So these are some of the things that, it's a little different as compared to other industries. It's a lot more involved. And I believe that there are only few, which is why there are few players who can actually do it and do it really successfully. So that's what I would say.
Interesting. There is a lot of emphasis of compliance, and especially when you are integrating multiple APIs, you are integrating multiple conversation platforms along with you. Automatically, there is going to be a big question from the regulator, how you are regulating it and making sure that you are within the norms of compliance and privacy. So how are you working around that, and how do you work with your information security teams or the technology teams on that? Any thoughts on this? Can I request Abhinav to answer on this? How have you been looking into it?
Again, I will break it in two parts. One is obviously we are heavily regulated, and therefore there is only so much that we can play around. But beyond that, I would go to the second part, which is how customers feel about how private their data is or how private their communications are with the organization, in this case with the bank. So on one hand, we have the seamlessness / convenience. Now, let's say I have done the KYC with the bank. My entire data is with the bank. If I'm enrolling for another service, and like we discussed that people are looking at one app as a super app, and obviously organizations are also trying to build a super app wherein for another service customer doesn't have to go to another app, and I only build that maybe through a third party. That is fine. But if that third party also requires that KYC information, on one hand, obviously it will be convenient for the customer if they don't have to input all those data points again. But at the same time, it might, be against his privacy. So I think one key word would here be transparency. Now, while you make it convenient for the customer, but how transparent are we with the customer? So when we are so we all know that it's a universal practice that people don't read the privacy statements, terms and conditions, etc. Now, just because the customer ticked and it's probably legally safeguards me, I have the logs in my system, isn't the end goal for us or for any organization for that matter. We have to then ensure that if this is actually a critical information for the customer to know, so it shouldn't be on a hyperlink and customer just checks that and goes ahead. Probably you can have a slider mentioning the criticality of information that you are going to pass on, or the information that you are going to capture, in fact. And then basically there'll be two type of customers. One would agree to avail that service or to avail that convenience, and then obviously he will go ahead and grant you the access. And there'll be customers who would be more conservative, and probably they will go with that friction. They will input again, but they will not grant you success. So I think transparency is something that needs to be prioritized while building the customized experience, while building the seamless experience.
Wonderful. Jitendra, you have worked in both banking and insurance space. So in your process of creating this automation, integration, and things like that, what are the steps that generally the organization have to take, especially when they are integrating this conversation, to ensure the best amount of compliance and to make sure that you are not on the wrong side of the compliance part of it?
Essentially, whatever is the process which is actually delivering a transaction or a value to the customer need to be reimagined. That's the current context. And for that, there are tools and methodologies available. While there is a promise of technology, so think from that perspective and connecting the earlier part of the conversation. So there is a customer 360, which is basically orchestrating and bringing all the customer needs on one side of it. And there is a technology stack which is available, which is actually giving a promises on the table that these needs can be fulfilled by what means. And one need to be really wire them together with a thought process of simplifying it, amplifying it, and making it really integrated. So there are three components which actually goes in, is like what is called as the critical to customer, critical to business, and critical to risk. Now this critical to risk is where the entire world of security, audit, and compliance or regulator comes in, which one need to be really augmenting and building in as an embedded part of solutioning. So what I call over a period of time, build a methodology, which is I call as a 7S. So you need to be really first and foremost sensing an opportunity, then creating a scanning of a technology which is possible to really address that issue. Having got that, we need to be really solutioning it. And then saying that, okay, this is the journey and not just a point solution. I need to be having it for that technology to be really working for my problem. So that becomes my third stage. Having got a solution, I need to do a acid testing of that particular solution with a security layer. So that becomes like the next 4S kind of a thing. And having done that extensive testings across various requirements, then one need to be really thinking about how to scale it. And having created a scale, then look into what kind of synergies which can be brought in to really make that thing happen in other part, the amplification part, what you said, to really make that thing happen. And then try to see that, okay, it is actually creating a service delivery with a differentiation. So if you really follow those 7S step by step, you will actually address the requirement of the customers and try to have the right blend of the technology and use of the platform to create an integrated output.
Wonderful. Krishnan, would you like to add something from the compliance perspective, since your job is mostly being initiated around the payments, around the payment app, around the payment related conversations, and again, a small mistake in payment is something which no one in the world can afford. So how have you been working around with the compliance part of it?
I think data privacy is important, and maybe it was not given the kind of importance that it should have been given. And I think we are, as a nation, going in the right direction towards achieving privacy. There are numerous circulars, and if you so I would like to draw a reference to two initiatives by RBI. One, there is a vision paper in 2019, which RBI has promoted. And under that vision paper, there are various initiatives which they are taking, one is to propel the overall digital initiatives. Second is also to create a very controlled framework so that the nuances on data, surveys, risk, frauds are captured properly. As far as the emergence of fintechs and so many other players are concerned, and if you see, data is very freely available. You know, you just enter your mobile number, name, email address in so many applications. Some of these applications sustain, they don't sustain. There is no control. It's just that the vulnerability has not touched you. Otherwise, if you data about you is available everywhere. That's the state of affairs in our country. And I think that these circulars have come at the right time. And if you see, most of the Western countries, data is gold mine. It is the most coveted asset that anybody would treat as. So for example, I know when I go to US, the digital security number is something which is not shared at all. Even to your relative, they keep it very. Where is it need to be used or need to be known is where is it shared. But in India, if you see, wherever you go, Aadhaar is so floating. While they say that there are guidelines around redacting Aadhaar number, but even if you see most of the documents, nobody is redacting the Aadhaar number. So all of this, yes, awareness on data security has to improve, and new guidelines have come from RBI. There are two important guidelines and obviously I think everybody knows the whole story around storage of data in India, which is a key initiative which RBI initiated. Then subsequent to that, there is master directions on digital payment securities, which specifies host of controls which all players in the ecosystem have to follow to ensure that there is privacy and security of data. So data is really important, and I think we are all. It's not an easy path to walk. We are all struggling to be there, but the direction is right, and I think in the next few years to come, the ecosystem will be will be more enabled and powerful to manage data in a more controlled manner.
Fantastic. Now, Srini, coming to you. Okay, when organizations walk into you, what is the kind of guidance through which you take this entire thing of converging the conversation to give that accelerated experience? How do you take that forward?
Well, it all starts with a challenge or a problem, and almost all problems boil down to the same thing: that how can we engage better? So whether it is a pre-purchase journey, whether they're evaluating how do I get my customers to know more about the financial instruments that I have or the services that I have, how do I convert them faster into becoming, opening an account in my bank or picking up a home loan or getting a vehicle loan, and how do I upsell and cross-sell to them once they are with us. So typically the challenge that we start with usually falls into one of these three buckets. And then, we start working on what the current process is like. How is it done? Where are the efficiencies? Where are the inefficiencies? And if it's a completely physical process, then we start looking at how we can make that physical journey into a digital journey. And we are always we believe in a kind of an appless world. So we always go with a messaging app based approach. So, and one truth is that almost all the banking customers today are, they're on one messaging app or the other. So we start with that. So we model the journey and we start working on integrating with, the backend systems that are enabling the journey today. Like, for example, KYC. It's one of the things that most banks are trying to automate. So it was a paper-driven process. Now it's becoming a very smooth process. So we create steps where the KYC becomes a few chats on WhatsApp with a bot, and your KYC is done. There are things like loan approvals or credit approvals. Like we work with fintechs to make the two-wheeler loan approval. We bring it down from like days to minutes using bots and integrations with statutory bodies that have credit information. So it's about finding those inefficiencies which is hampering good quality customer engagement, and how to make those efficient through messaging apps, through chatbots, and through conversations. So that's typically the boilerplate. That's the template of the conversations that we have.
Interesting. What is in your wish list as a head of analytics, head of AI, head of customer experience in a large bank which is so diverse like that of a state bank? What could you think of as a wish list which you would like to see in redefining the conversations of the future?
The conversation definitely will have new innovations and new features which are more useful for the customers. But simultaneously, I would like to continue what was going on in the previous question, that the privacy of the data. See, the data, whatever you do, you must ensure that the data is very sensitively used, and the owner of the data, they must be fully aware of what is being done with the data. So the banks becoming the owner of the data for various from their customers from various sources. So the question is that your data governance principles should conform to all the possible requirement. It looks maybe stringent, and that controls your maneuverability of providing the services you would like to want. Say, one must conform to the concept of FEAT, ethics, accountability, and transparency. All these 4 points, all your actions must be governed by this. You must be aware of what is the data, and from the customer point of view also, whether you are giving all kind of security to the customer must be satisfied that, okay, this is the bank, and I am 100% sure my bank protects my data. And the concern of the customers are there, and those concerns must be addressed properly. So in that context, all our new innovations, new ideas, all centered around the providing security, and then move around the innovations. So it is not only innovations that cannot be the sole aim of the banks.
Wonderful. Krishna, any quick wish list that you want to put forward, which can be insightful and knowledgeable for the vendors of the future also to develop from the perspective of the bankers and their customers?
Yeah, agility is one key thing that is required. And the whole payments banking ecosystem is evolving rapidly. And so sooner or later, fully digital banks, if you follow, if you have seen the tweet from our Honorable Prime Minister, is on creating a non-brick and mortar digital bank. So, which will be a reality shortly. And in such a scenario, a lot of engagement, conversations with customers will change significantly. And this is something that will evolve for the better, and is something which we look forward to see how it takes shape. So anticipating for the best to come for the customer.
Wonderful. Jitendra, from your side, do you have any insights on any wish list which you think as a researcher, as an innovator, and as a process guy would like to highlight upon? What is the new thing that you would like to see in conversation?
I think the conversation need to be really brought in the mode of journey of for the customers, be it on the sales side of it or on the service side of it. So customer have been getting an experience as a point solution, but how can one really integrate all those things which are really fragmented and are provided through a point solution need to be really made as a part of the journey. Say, for example, a customer goes to an hospital and is wanting to really have a cashless. At this point of time, from that journey to getting that kind of a either making an excess payment or getting the payment back is the entire journey. Customers need to be really getting into it, either on a app or on a WhatsApp. So today there are piecemeal kind of a solutions which have been offered in terms of setting up the customer, getting their approval done, giving some notifications. So those kind of things are not the conversation. They are obviously certain transactions. But when we want to have a true conversation, we need to be really talking about what customers' journeys are and how can I seamless that journey by bringing in all those augmented technology. So there I need to be introducing maybe a voice bot as an intermediary one step. I need to be doing that. If that steps require some email to be really facilitated, that need to be brought in. If that should be having a component of an RPA output to be really placed to the customer, let that be placed. So this is what we need to be really making rather than bothering a customer about our platforms and our technology stack. The technology stack should be seamless. It should be a journey for customer, and which is an experience ultimately received by the customers.
Wonderful. Okay, you clearly defined what is a conversation and what is a transaction, and how organizations have to really build in their experiences around both of them and create that that unique transformation in the conversation rather than, and by mapping the customer's journey. This is exactly what very beautiful and well said point. Abhinav, any wish list from your side in this perspective?
Customers need to be put in control of what they want to do, how they want to do, what they want to share, what they don't want to share. And obviously they need to be made aware that if basically they choose one path, what is going to be impact of that path in terms of seamlessness, in terms of frictions. And once we build something that is, there is something that is available, doesn't mean that we force this on the customer. We give the control to customer to choose. One basic example would be now almost all banks have put up, I think there is RBI guideline also. So obviously all banks have put up, I can set my limits for my debit card or credit card within the app, right? Now earlier people were wary of having a credit card with a higher limit because the risk is too high. Now if I can set up it to a conservative limit, the one that I'm comfortable with, I am cool with that higher limit. Once I need the higher amount, probably I will increase the limit and use the card. So this is just one basic example, but this is how we need to progress being a financial organization.
Wonderful. Srini, to share with us something about, in your vision as a technology service provider, in using or in bettering the conversations of the future, what do you foresee as the roadmap of the future of conversations, especially in the financial services sector?
The customer going to the bank, either physically or to a website or an app, is slowly changing to the bank, or the brand, if you call it a bank or BFSI brand, actually coming to the customer and operating in an environment where the customer already exists. Not in an intrusive way, but the way he or she already communicate with other people. So for us, we believe that that is the messaging app, because today it is the one app that almost all customers have. And along with friends and families and other groups, if you can imagine that your BFSI or fintech as being one of them in that list of people that they can converse with to get their services from you, then I think you would have established a much more intimate, trustworthy relationship with them than you had in the past. So I think that is the vision that we are trying to make a reality. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much, everyone.
Thank you all my colleagues.
Thank
I
you.
think it was a wonderful conversation.
Thanks. Thanks, Jitendra. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Mr. Panda. Thanks, Abhinav. Thanks, Srini. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening and joining us.